What is up, guys? Jordan Anderson here, and welcome back to the channel. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about 10 lessons. So I reached out to the internet asking wedding photographers, what is your number one lesson you would give to a wedding photographer? And I compiled a nice little list here. We have 10 here to go through. Let's start with lesson number 1. All right, so lesson number 1 is by Melina Mass, and she says, learn manual like the back of your hand. When you're starting off as a photographer, you want to lean on auto mode, or if you want to lean on aperture mode or like aperture priority mode, that's kind of what I lean into. Like, say I want to be at just f1.8 and just let the camera do the rest of the calculation. The problem with you being just in auto mode is that, yes, 90% of the time you're going to be pretty good. You might have to boost them up or down in post. Learning manual, just learning your camera, becoming totally intimate with it. No, that sounds weird. Just becoming sort of a, your own personal master at the camera body that you've chosen, and knowing what to do in a certain situation, and that's kind of your journey. That's kind of your path of mastery in the photography world, is learning that when I'm in this situation, when I see the lighting like this, when I see the sun out in the distance against me, in front of me, behind me, to the side of me, I know exactly what I need to do. Hit on the camera settings, and boom, I got the perfect exposure. Lesson number 2. So this one came from Reddit, and it says that insist on having a day of coordinator. You're going to talk to some brides. They might be cheapos, they might be on a budget, and they might not have the luxury to afford a full-out wedding planner. Someone that, from the very beginning to the very end to the execution, has the entire vision. They're kind of managing that entire vision for the wedding. Some people plan their own wedding, get up to the wedding day, and don't really think anything beyond that, or like, well, I've kind of planned out, the bride and groom are like, well, we kind of planned out most of the stuff, so like once we're there, we'll just act like hosts and just kind of keep the party going ourselves. As a photographer, you want them to stay in the pocket of staying in that moment of being in that lovey-dovey situation where it's their wedding day and they're not having to worry about coordinating anything or moving the cake, or even worse, you're having to worry about those aspects, making sure that transportation is taken care of and make sure that people are meeting up at the right time in the right place, and okay, you got to move the cake. If you're talking with your bride and groom and they don't have at least a day of coordinator, try to encourage them, push them in that direction to say, hey, I think this is going to help a ton. This is going to take a lot of stress off your back. And as a photographer, if you're having to worry about transportation and logistics and making sure everyone's in the right place at the right time, you're not focused on making sure you're going to get the best shots. You're not focused on being like in that creative pocket that, you are just going to have the best moment ever, and you're going to find that moment, because it does take some time and it does take some awareness. Lesson number 3, let's keep this moving, by our dear friend Madeline Faye. Outsource and automate. Yes. Now, she frames it outsource and automate to protect your creative powers. The more you are having to do, the more you are having to run your business, the more you're having to edit the photos, deliver the photos, do sales, do marketing, social media, create content, all this stuff, curating content, networking. There's so much stuff, and that can drain us. When I'm feeling tired and exhausted, that's like the least, or I'd say like that's the worst time that I want to be creative. Like, I don't feel creative when I'm tired or sleepy or exhausted or stressed. Those are, my creative juices at that point are, we're hitting on empty. What can you do to take something off your plate? And yes, I know not everyone can afford or has the means at that moment in their business career to outsource and automate everything. But if you can outsource and automate as much as you can, that's going to take some of the pressure off of you, and that's going to leave you some more room in the tank, the more, creative fuel in the tank for you to make the best wedding shoot possible, to have the best edit possible, to be like totally focused. And even things like content creation and having like the self-awareness and like being here and being in the moment, not being so stressed out about something else in your business. You can like be here, engage, and have, just have a great time and create something beautiful. All right, lesson number 4. This is another one from Reddit, and it's kind of, these lessons are kind of like life lessons and business lessons, but this one kind of goes out of left field a little bit, and I like it. Never go hungry. And I think they're talking about like never go hungry on a photo shoot. When you're hungry, you're not so focused, and especially when your clients, if your bride and groom are dehydrated, the biggest problems you'll see on set as a filmmaker are you're dehydrated or you're hungry. If you're grouchy, you're not in the mood, you don't feel like being here, you got a headache, you're either dehydrated or you're hungry. So having those two things locked in, bring a snack, not just have the camera gear in your bag, but also have a couple water bottles, have a banana, have whatever, a granola bar, whatever you got to have that kind of gets you back up to 100. That's what you want, because it's like we are on. When we're at the wedding, it has to be 100%. We can't be focused on other things. We can't be focused on what we're doing tomorrow or next week or something we did yesterday. We are in the moment. We have to stay totally present to get the best shot possible. Lesson number 5. This one's from Rachel Illy. Practice for free. And I gotta say, I fucked this up big time. Okay, so you kind of like, the further you get into your mastery at your craft, me as a cinematographer at the time, as a filmmaker, I was so into myself. I was so like, okay, I have reached this level where like I can now charge more and more, and my skills have gotten there to where I can back it up. And the problem that I ran into, and maybe you've run into this yourself, or be aware of this problem, is that the better you get, the more kind of proud you get. And so I thought I got so good at filmmaking that there was no room, there was no moment that I could go and practice my skills for free. I had this like total like hardcore business mindset, like to get my camera out of the bag, to go to your shoot or to go to your event or to go to your baseball game and film it or have a little fun or practice some new technique. It had to be paid for. It had to be, I was breaking even. I was making some money off this. So I stopped getting better. I stopped practicing more. And when you're young and when you're just like inexperienced, you're out there shooting. I remember going like on the train tracks. I remember going like down and like under a bridge and like filming some like light leak, or like you find some flower on the side of the street and you're like, oh cool, and like you're trying to get like a lens flare to hit the leaf petals or something corny like that. But I got too into myself, or too into my skills, so I stopped practicing. So to keep that mindset, keep the little bit of I think it's good to have kind of a beginner's mindset throughout your career. No matter how good you think you are, always have this kind of beginner mindset. Like, I can always learn something new. I need to experiment more. I need to get some practice into this, because being at the wedding might not be the best time to practice this new technique. You might want to go do that during the weekday, so that on the weekend, you're there, you're in the moment again, you're 100% firing on cylinders. Lesson number 6. This is from Sincerely Sadie. And okay, this is going to get the business one. Track your business expenses. And I added this: regularly. Track your business expenses separately. Have a separate business credit card, have a business debit card, have a business bank account. And this is what I do. I try to keep as much of my purchases digital as possible, so I always have the receipts. Because otherwise, all these advertisements are like, QuickBooks or whatever, FreshBooks, they're always advertising that you can scan your receipts, keep your receipts, track your receipts. Well, why even bother? Don't get a printed out receipt. Just have everything emailed to your business account. Track, attach all your receipts to your business transactions in something like QuickBooks. And that way, and then when I say to track them regularly, categorize them regularly, so that at the end of the year, when you're in tax time, you just say, okay, here's everything from the previous year, here's all the categories, submit, start tax process, and it's just good to go. You're not having to like sort through everything, because everything, you have this like regular business habit of maybe once a week, every Friday, every Monday, that you're going through all the transactions that you had for the week and you're categorizing them. And then you're like, then that's it. You put it away and you come back the next week. Lesson number 7 from Morgan Smith. Don't play the comparison game. And god damn it, I've done this so much. I'm the worst at this, that to the point where I had to I gotta stop looking at Instagram. I gotta stop looking at what, I've talked about this in the past, where what are my college friends doing? What are my colleagues doing? What are my contemporaries doing? And just feeling so bad about myself if I saw an awesome project that one of my college buddies did, and being like, wow, look at me, I'm not doing shit. That was so good. And it's just nothing good comes from it. Comparing yourself, you can comparing to other people, third parties, that's fine. I like this movie over this movie. I like this photograph over this photograph. That's fine. But when it comes to comparing yourself to others, you are not them. They are not you. You guys are on totally separate tracks, at different evolutions, at different struggles, at different paths in your life. Lesson number 8. This comes from Amanda Casanova. Mentorships. Now, this is asking for help. That's tough. That's tough for me. And I've never officially done a mentorship. Of course, I have people I look up to, and I ask questions, and I don't mind being vulnerable. But when it comes down to mentorships, it's really just about, it is kind of about like the first step is, it's almost like Alcoholics Anonymous. It's like the first step is just being vulnerable and saying, I need help with something. So like to admit that you don't have all the answers is like a very proud first step that you should take. So as a photographer, it's okay to say, I don't know this, or I'm not the best at this, or like, you know what, I think I understand the photography side of things, but when it comes to the business side, I have no idea. When it comes to pricing, I have no idea. And like admitting that and being okay with that, and then going out and seeking those mentors. Lesson number 9 from Abigail Gray. This one, you'll like this. Being a second shooter isn't being mentored. And we just talked about mentorship. So, and that's kind of like, I love how unconventional this is, because we do think that, okay, yeah, if you want to get the skills, if you want to learn fast, if you want to up your speed, up your skills, acquire some skills really fast, the best thing you do is go second shoot, because there's kind of less pressure on you. You're not having to worry about the sales and client process. You're just having to worry about being out in the field, interacting with these lighting situations and subjects and getting people to smile at the right time at the right moment. The problem with being a second shooter is that you're on, again, the same as the first shooter, you're on, it's time to be at 100 max level in the moment. There's not really this time to say like, well, hey, how do you do this? Or like, hey, what do you normally do in this situation? Or like, if I hired a second shooter, I don't really want my second shooter. I'll say 2 thoughts at the same time. I want them to ask questions, but I also don't want them to ask questions. You know what I mean? Like, if you have a problem with something, or you're trying to figure something out in the moment, ask me that problem. Like, look, man, we don't really have time to go over this right now. Do you know how to do this or not? And finally, lesson number 10. Let's finish this off. Become a lifelong learner and don't rush the process. Absolutely. Absolutely. Like we said in an earlier lesson, to kind of keep this beginner mindset, to keep be humble. Don't think you know all the answers. Don't think you have all the answers. And it's okay, continue your education. Just because you took one photography course, or just took one business photography course, doesn't mean you have to stop there. You read one good business book here, doesn't mean you have to stop there. Continue to learn. It's so weird about education and like improving ourselves, that we could hear the same lesson at 2 different points in our lives, and it affects us differently, and then we see it differently because we have that different experience or that different wisdom. There is no finish line. Let me just say that. We'll wrap the video up on this idea, that there is no finish line to the world of photography, to you becoming the best wedding photographer. There is no, you have made it. It's just, we're in. It's like taking a road trip. It's not about where we're going. It's like you're sitting in the car driving. That's it. That's the moment. It's not where we're going to go. It's being on the journey. Thank you guys for watching. My name is Jordan Anderson. I hope you guys enjoyed these 10 lessons. And I'll link all these photographers here down below. And there's even a podcast that I did with a couple of them, I believe. Yeah, with Madeline. You can check out Madeline's podcast down below. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to subscribe. My name is Jordan Anderson, and I will see you on the next one.